Let's podcast. Alongside Joe Giglio, I'm Joe Ovies inside Eford Studios in downtown Raleigh, thanks to Empire Properties and thanks to Copiers Plus. Check them out online at copiers-plus.com. Print management, document management, everything you need into the cloud. And to print out your brackets. It's peak bracket season. Warning, today's going to be a very wonky show. I have a feeling we're going to get into some mechanics with Patrick Stevens as we put a wrap on the bracketology last night. Big thanks to everybody who rocked with us during the ACC tournament. Had a lot of fun. Ran into some listeners while we were out and about. That was very cool. But it is lovely to be back in the studio. You know how I am. I like everything in its right place. And I have to give you credit. You have decorated since we got back. You've gone full coastal grandma with your wall. I'm impressed. You have your bear. Thanks to Color Graphic, by the way. Hit them up. Sales at colorgraphic.com. You added the bear with the sunglasses over there. And now above you, it says Forever Grateful.
Yep.
In the bridal font on shiplap. Do you need, I feel like over there, I have to put a shelf up. Maybe we can move the Cycle of Day Dorn up a little bit, put a shelf above Vincent so you can put a jar of seashells.
That would be immaculate.
Gather right next to that.
Live, laugh, love.
Oh, there's a lot of living, a lot of laughing, a lot of love. You might love your brackets. You might hate your draw and everything else. Let's get right to it and just look at the bracket itself. No surprises with Duke being your overall number one seed. But there is a surprise, Joe.
I was going to say no surprises.
There is a surprise.
Other than they piped Duke for being the number one overall seed.
What happened? You've been saying, you watch, you get a magical path to the Final Four. The Vols 98 prophecy. And as I'm watching the bracket unveiled last night, I'm going, ooh, Hall of Famer. Oh, there's your boy. You got your other blue blood. Is this what this is really about? Or is this all coming home to roost? An actual blue blood versus the team that only wants to win championships in UConn with the Hurley brother? This is hilarious that you've been like, oh, the path paved in gold. Bracket look is real. And then I look at their bracket and I go, oh, Kansas is in there too. My bad.
Yeah, two things.
Explain this one.
It's definitely stacked. There's not a doubt about that. All I could assume is that the committee did not watch the Duke-Michigan game that was played in D.C. and won by Duke because Michigan has the easiest region I think I've really ever seen for a number one seed. Mm-hmm. So, that is the rainbows and lollipops region. So I don't know how the committee got that. Number two, one of my theories all along has been I think either UConn or St. John's can get to the Final Four because they keep playing each other. Mm-hmm. And once they play somebody else, it'll be a lot easier for them. They'll be taking the donut off the bat and they'll be able to play a team. Like, for example, if they were able to play Michigan, if they were able to play Purdue, if they were able to play Florida or Vanderbilt or Iowa State or Illinois, they would beat them because all those teams I mentioned are skilled and soft. St. John's and UConn are not skilled and soft. Okay. The one team equipped to beat St. John's and UConn is Duke, the defensive machine that is Duke. That's number two. Number three, this is the second year in a row now that the cleanest, easiest way for me to make about $2,000 is for one of my Final Four tickets to hit. Mm-hmm. Last year was Alabama. What does the committee do? They put him in New Jersey against Duke. Mm-hmm. And I knew the second the bracket came out, not coming home.
Yeah.
The easiest, cleanest way for me to make about $2,000 on one of my Final Four tickets is for St. John's to get to the Final Four. What do?
Put him with Duke.
They put him with Duke.
Yeah.
It's like now I'm convinced that the selection committee has access to my DraftKings account and they know my best tickets. And they're saying, how could we really screw Giglio? We could put his best chance at winning actual money in the same region as Duke. So that's number three. Number four, ye of little faith, people. Ye of little faith.
Oh, I see a team in here.
Allow me to introduce you to Brian Hodgson.
Yeah.
I believe he's going to be Syracuse's next coach.
That is the belief, yes.
So he gets to start this tournament in Buffalo, which is where he's from. So we already have a heartstrings moment there. Oh, and look at that. He gets to play Louisville, who's missing a player and also plays against a coach in Pat Kelsey. Love Pat Kelsey, but he's literally never won an NCAA tournament game.
It's been a struggle.
So, and then I know Duke fans are already like, look, Hall of Famer Izzo. Well, I got faith in the Bulls. They're going to take care of Izzo for you. And then you're going to get to DC, and you're going to have to play Patino in DC. You're going to have to. But I got faith that Big Boozer and Evans should really be able to score against St. John's.
They should have Gungba back as well.
And I believe Gungba will play in all these games.
Yes.
I'm just telling you, there's at least a chance that Duke will be playing South Florida for a chance to go to the Final Four. And all of those people who are calling today about, geez, guys, you were right. That NC State really is North Carolina from last year.
Oh, we'll get to that.
All those people who are calling today like, geez, guys, you were right. NC State should have been worried about going to Dayton, as we said pretty much since the Georgia Tech game.
We weren't the only one, which we will get to.
Like, geez, guys. Like, so there is one outside chance. And South Florida, I am the world's biggest Bulls fan right now.
You're bullish on the Bulls.
Because, man, if it's South Florida against Duke in the Final 8, even Carolina playing St. Peter's is going to be like, you're playing who?
Yeah.
Or the path paved in gold for freaking Virginia. By the way, the Virginia 2019 run continues to populate in my timeline. Yesterday, I was shown how they beat Texas Tech at the end of that game. I completely forgot that they were down 3 on their final possession of that game and then come up with a stop on the final play of regulation. Like, I am being taunted by my algorithm.
You sent me some things this morning from your algorithm that I do wonder.
Oh, it's locked on. Like whatever you think is listening,
it's on.
Oh, it's
definitely listening. We will get to that a little bit later on. Before we get to NC State, let's also talk about North Carolina. They will see VCU to start things off on Thursday night. What is that? 6:50 in the evening. This is a game, to me, that really is dependent on how North Carolina wants to approach the NCAA tournament. I think it's that simple. VCU is the kind of team that I think the last time anybody was really paying attention to VCU around here was when they played NC State earlier in the year, like at the beginning of the season. That was viewed as a game that would help NC State out in the long run.
I think it did.
I think them winning, well, remember, the selection committee said yesterday that had VCU not won their conference tournament, they would not have been in the field.
Right.
But since they did, that obviously helps NC State. So that prophecy came true, that the VCU game would ultimately help NC State out. But VCU is not the same, like all things in college basketball, who you saw at the beginning of the season. That's not who they are towards the end of the season. And VCU has won 16 of their last 17, including running through the Atlantic 10 championship to get into the NCAA tournament. They're the kind of team that is athletic and can hit some threes, which we know has been a problem for North Carolina if they are not interested in starting on time. Okay, I'm not even going to focus on the fact that VCU is a pretty good three-point shooting team and North Carolina has problems stopping people outside the arc. Okay, and I'm not even going to get too worked up into how the guard play has been an issue in terms of creating turnovers for North Carolina. Those are what the metrics will tell you. When you watch North Carolina, you're going to know out of the gate what it's going to be about. Is this going to be the team that understand it is going to play a particular way to win this ball game? Now, Joe's got a really interesting stat that you might want to keep in mind, but I want to make this point before we get to this stat, and it's related to Caleb Wilson in combination with certain points in the season where Hubert Davis I would likely think, has gone to that locker room, or Seth Trimble, the leadership, has gone to that locker room and said, guys, where are we going to go from here? We've seen it twice already. Third time's a charm, because I'll go back to the West Coast trip, right? They lose to SMU, they lose to Cal, they lose to Stanford. They come back, they start reeling off some wins. Cool. That was like, you guys cannot play this way. Hubert Davis was adamant. You cannot play this way. Got it. Done. Then you see the NC State game. It's not that they lost to NC State. It's how they lost to NC State. We can justify missing Caleb Wilson and Henry Vasar. I feel like we should probably have a drinking game every time we mention the fact that they were missing their two best players in that loss to NC State. But again, I'll reiterate this point. It wasn't about that they lost. It's how they lost. They used that knowing that Caleb Wilson was going to be out for a stretch and found ways to win. There were some wonky games in there against NCAA tournament teams, including Louisville, right? So we then get to the buildup of the Caleb Wilson return. They have the rug pulled from them. That's how you phrased it. Mm-hmm. The rug gets pulled from them, which I completely understand. They fought as best they could against Duke before the bottom fell out. And then we saw a hangover effect in how they started that game against Clemson. It should not have taken until the last 3 minutes of that game for them to go, oh, shit, maybe we should, I don't know, play hard, play defense, move, which was the big issue early on with their guard play. They were just stagnant. There was just no movement offensively. So Hubert Davis and this team, they have done a good job of looking at those bottoms and climbing out of it. And I think if they do what they've done in these other points against VCU, they'll be fine. If they don't, there is the possibility of them getting their ass handed to them on Thursday night. However, under Hubert Davis, there seems to be one team that does the ass kicking in the first game, right?
Yeah, first of all, I promised myself this year I'm not going off of anything that I saw in November, December, or January.
That's fair.
So when I saw VCU, I thought pretty skilled team, pretty decent size. They have the 1-4 and big, not the biggest team in the history of the world. They shot relatively poorly against NC State with a lot of open looks. So I'm not basing anything of VCU off of what the heck I saw back in week 2.
Fair.
I promised myself that. And that includes like results in Maui, results in these preseason tournaments. I'm not picking anybody based on anything other than the last 10 games.
Yeah.
Okay. North Carolina under Hubert Davis. The fluctuations, as you point out, this team not only fluctuates from game to game, but half to half.
Yep.
And I think you have to give Hubert credit from the West Coast trip, from the state loss. We've seen them react. They should react to the way that they started against Clemson, which, by the way,
they know they're not getting Caleb Wilson back.
By the way, that was a running back game. Brad Bonnell's a really good coach.
He's good.
Beat him in a running back game.
He's a coachy coach, all right.
That will probably come up here later in this conversation. But if there's one thing you could say about Hubert Davis in year 5 now, right? The man knows how to win his first NCAA tournament game. I present to you Hubert Davis, all of his regular season wins. This is 5 years of data. The average margin of victory in over 5 years is 14.8 points per game in regular season games, the games that he wins. In the first game that he plays in the NCAA tournament, the average margin of victory is 29 points.
I'm sorry, what?
29 points.
They did put the hammer down in Dayton last year.
Let's go back to 2022, his first NCAA tournament game. He was in an 8-9 coin toss game. They beat Marquette 95-63 in a coin toss game against Shaka Khan. Let me love you. Let me show you what I'm going to do. Okay. Next year, fine. They're a number 1 seed. They beat Wagner. Still beat them 90-62, Joe. That's 28 points. Last year, another literal coin toss game against San Diego State as an 11 seed. They're both an 11 in the first 4. 95-68. If there's one thing you can take to the bank about Hubert Davis in his 5 years at North Carolina, is he is going to have this team ready, and you are going to see their best basketball on Thursday.
What about after that?
Got no promises after that.
We ain't promised tomorrow.
We ain't promised tomorrow. I only got one stat for you, and it's that one.
919-444-2211. Call the OG Sports phone and curse or don't.
Let's get this conversation started with a call from a 252.
So I just watched NC State get put in Dayton. I was pretty surprised by that, but I don't know why, because a month ago, our own coach said, quote, the NCAA tournament, we're a long way away from that. This team lost to Georgia Tech. We'd be lucky to make it to Dayton. So I guess according to Will Wade, we're lucky to be here. Man, that's crazy how he spoke that into existence. I want to say that maybe we can play with a bit of an edge and show the committee they were wrong for disrespecting and doubting us, but our own coach has disrespected and doubted us all year, so I don't expect anything meaningful to happen. This is just crazy.
Disrespected? I don't know. Based on the metrics, based on how they played, based on how you watch them, that sounds about right that they're in Dayton from a 919.
I just can't believe this. I just can't fucking believe that a team like NC State, with no marquee wins except for a UNC team that had two of their best players injured and has beaten almost no one and has completely shit the bed at the end of the season, would get a play-in game. This is just, I can't believe it. I mean, were they watching? Because if they were watching, watching the games. Oh.
I enjoyed the range of emotions on the sports phone. We'll get to more calls in Hey Joe. You joked with me when I walked in today after you noticed the glorious Charlotte Hornets Summer League championship shirt that Walker Mail over at WFNC gave me.
That thing is immaculate.
It really is. On the back, you can't quite see it. On the back, it's like undefeated in Vegas. What does it say? It says victory in Vegas.
Victory in Vegas.
This shirt costs $50, by the way. It's just a next level shirt. This is like a $15 shirt. They charge $50 for it. Ridiculous. But obviously, I rocked it today. The other thing that you brought up, and I got a chuckle, was if we were doing our dumb radio bits, much like we always wanted to do here's Rod Brindamore's post-game press conference. Can you tell based on Rod's demeanor and how he's talking, did the Canes win or did the Canes lose? Because Rod is notorious for winning, 6-2, and he comes out sounding like somebody just pissed in his cornflakes. And then they win or they lose. He's like, no, I really liked how we played today. We're just going to stay with it. And it's like, okay, got it. So if we were to go full radio bit mode, we probably could have done, a blind quote? No audio, just read the quote.
Yeah. We would go get one of our voice actors to read it in some sort of accent. Right?
Yeah. And
you'd have to guess, was it Will Wade or was it one of us?
Well, there's no guessing here. Let's go back to Will Wade after they lost to Georgia Tech, the game that we have been talking about since they lost to them back on January 17th.
Look, our resume wasn't great to begin with, but the best part of our resume is we didn't have any bad stuff on it. It was pretty clean. We didn't have any quad 1 wins, but we didn't have any 3 or 4 losses either. And we had a bunch of quad 2 wins. Well, now the best part of our resume is blemished. So, we're gonna have to punch above our weight class a couple times here to get this thing back where it needs to be.
So that was again after the Georgia Tech loss. The Georgia Tech loss would come back into play on February 14th, a month ago, or just over a month ago, when they lost to, this was the Miami loss, that catastrophic end that then once again put NC State into a really weird position when talking about their resume.
You have a game like this that's close the entire time, that kind of mimics what you see in the NCAA tournament. How can you use this as a learning experience?
Shoot, we're a long way from the NCAA tournament. This team, lost to Georgia Tech. Damn, you're skipping way ahead. Worried about the NCAA tournament. Just hope we can get to Dayton.
How do you get the players to maybe play with more physicality? They were mentioning the lack of physicality and toughness down the stretch. How do you get them to flip?
That's just who we are. We're soft. We're a jump shooting team. That's who we are as a group. I'm not saying we got soft players, but that's who we are as a group. We're just a jump shooting team. I've had to embrace that. And they Miami, they have an identity. They're going to bludgeon you into paint. They're going to be physical. They have an identity. We have no identity. That's an indictment on this guy right here. We have no identity outside of making jump shots. And that's a bad way to have to play. We gave up 26 offensive rebounds at Pittsburgh. We gave up 20 offensive rebounds today. Tuesday, they'll be able to pick how many offensive rebounds they get. Just pick a number out of thin air, and they'll get it. I mean, it's a tough way to play. We spent all week working on free throw blockouts because they get 1.5 a game. They got 3 on us today, at least 3 that I can remember. They may have had more. You have to go back and look, but they got at least 3. I mean, it's just who we are as a group, and unfortunately, we can't change it.
And it didn't change. Big thanks to JC Zembel that was his clip from that press conference. And I had to go back and find it. And I had to go, what exactly did he say? Yes, quote, "I'm just hoping we get to Dayton." He hoped. They won a game at the ACC tournament, played competitively against Virginia.
Yeah, first half was as good as I've seen them play.
Some of the NCAA bracketology math worked out, and now they're in Dayton for this game. And last night, he had his press availability, and I'll give Will Wade a lot of credit because he has been consistent for this. If you listen to your coach's post-game press conferences, I'm not talking about the radio show. The radio show is a different vibe. That's a different vibe. I'm talking about his actual press availabilities. Will Wade is one of those coaches, and thankfully we have had those here in the Triangle for a long time. John Shire's another one. Okay, Hubert Davis has some tells in the initial, I disagree with the premise of the question, and then he'll eventually actually agree with the premise of the question. You have to work through that. But eventually you'll get to the point with Hubert Davis where he's telling you what he thinks. You got to listen to it. Heck, go all the way back to the Yellow Flags press conference. Remember?
Mm-hmm.
He's like, we got some yellow flags we got to work through. Nobody wanted to hear it because nobody wants to hear about
in 23,
the reality of the situation. But these coaches know their teams.
Yeah.
That's the thing. These coaches know their teams. And Will Wade, to his credit, during his press availability, Corey over at Pack Power asked about metrics and ending up in Dayton. And Will Wade's like, hey, man, I'm not here for that.
Corey, go ahead. Well, just want to get your thoughts on what metrics maybe had been used in order to get you guys as a first four, as opposed to a team like a Mizzou that was much further behind you guys in the net. Do you feel like there was something that kind of contributed to this that led you guys to not be there?
I don't know. We'd have to ask the committee, and we'll worry about all that stuff in the off season to make sure that we're doing what we need to do from a scheduling standpoint, and make sure we're doing what we need to do to put our team in the best position. But I don't know about that. We can't worry about that. And the reality is, if we don't have a quad 4 loss, and if we play better and win the games that we're supposed to win, I mean, for crying out loud, we lost to 2 teams that didn't make the ACC tournament. So, we have there's no victim here. There's no woe is us, woe is NC State. We got screwed. They came. There's none of that. We did it to ourselves. And if we wanted a better outcome, we should have had better results. And it's results-based business, and we didn't have better results. And there's some games we decided we didn't want to play as hard. There's some games that we had guys that maybe weren't as interested in some games as other games. And it's a good life lesson. Everything you do matters, and everything you do is measured. And at the end of the day, everything adds up, and you are what it adds up to. And, this is where we are, and we're not complaining. We're happy to be in. I mean, shoot, San Diego State beat Utah State yesterday, and Ole Miss continues their run in the tournament. We're having a totally different discussion potentially. So look, we are who we are. We got what we deserve. We got what we earned. And now it's our turn. And now it's our time to see if we can do something with this opportunity more than we've done during the regular season.
So that was Will Wade yesterday. And this gets back to, I'm glad that you learned some things in our brief radio time together, that there are some radio bits that can really accentuate these points. And if you wanted to do the blind quotes, a lot of the ways in which Will Wade talked about his team this year and a lot of the ways that we talked about this team this year sound really similar, except that I don't know if fans don't want to listen to the coach, don't have time to listen to the coach, or they see what the coach says and there's like, he's just being dramatic. I'm going to trust what the burnerverse tells me by looking at these metrics and looking at all the positive ways to do these types of things. For instance, Corey even brought up the metrics. Like, well, what about our net? And I looked at the calendar. I'm like, last time I checked, it's 2026. This is not 2021. This is not 2019. We understand what the net is now as a sorting tool. The thing you have to look at more than anything else is how did you do against your schedule, which is what Will Wade just said. We had teams that we had games we were supposed to win. They didn't win them. Here is the comparison in terms of WAB between NC State and Missouri, which Corey brought up. And I'm not trying to oversimplify it, but this really is a very simple way to understand why Missouri was where they were and why NC State is where they are. WAB, NC State, was plus 0.32, whereas Missouri was plus 1.16, meaning that Missouri did a better job against their schedule than NC State did with their schedule. And you use net to feed into things like WAB. You don't have to use net. It is simply a sorting tool. It's another metric, just like Ken Palm is another metric, just like Bart Torvik is another metric. They use net. This is what it spit out. And when you start looking at things like that based on the results-based metrics, you have a better understanding why NC State ended up where they ended up. And as Will Wade said, if some things play out the other way, they might not even be here.
Yeah, man, they lost 7 or 9 going into this thing, man. I mean, you got, like he said, you got no one to blame but yourself. I thought it was interesting that he said the team, there were some games they didn't try hard enough in.
Yeah.
They didn't care enough about. And that's the frustrating part if you're an NC State fan. You watch the energy and the urgency with which they played against North Carolina, and you go, well, why can't you do that in other games? You watch the way that they played in the first half against Virginia down in Charlotte, and that's the team that they should be.
Mm-hmm.
And we will obviously wrap this thing up with them fairly soon. I'd be surprised if they beat Texas. I really would.
Is this a run it back situation that you're not so keen on?
Well,
let me
they're 0. Sean Miller's 0-3 in run it back games this year.
Okay.
Believe it or not.
Okay.
And there's certainly a statistical anomaly to what Texas did from the 3-point line against NC State.
Mm-hmm.
And you talk about a team that's struggling coming down the stretch. Boy, Texas is in the tank. Okay.
Yeah, well, yeah, I played the clip. I pulled the clip yesterday when going back to our conversation with Patrick Stevens, who's going to join us here in a little bit.
Yeah.
And we'll go over more of the Texas stuff. But I was amused going back that you were like apoplectic.
Like, how is Texas in? Like, they're at even a bigger slide than NC State
and then
right
here
now.
They are.
But this might revert to, there are certain coaches that I honestly and truly just don't like. And sometimes they're better than I think, or I give them credit for.
You're talking about Sean Miller.
I think Sean is a better coach than I give him credit for.
Okay.
Herb is probably another one of those. Truth serum.
We don't need to go back to the porch with the multi-triggered.
Yeah. Truth serum. Right.
Yeah.
Chris Mack. Right.
I get that one.
You see the
I get that one.
See the list now, how it goes?
Yeah.
So I could see Sean winning the game on Tuesday. I could.
How about this? Do you just want to get it out of the way, the loss, so you don't go all the way to Portland for AJ DeBansta to just name his score?
Yeah, I mean, it would be interesting because the way that NC State defends,
my goodness,
playing on short rest.
Because I was like, oh, they can beat Texas. They can legitimately beat Texas.
Absolutely, they have the ability to beat Texas.
Yes.
You're seeing a team for a second time.
Yes,
you should be able to show the clips from the first game and say, hey guys, if we clean this up, then you show them some clips from the Virginia game and say, hey, this is us at our best. This is us playing our best.
Mm-hmm.
I think everything with this NC State team, though, is a complete dart toss for Will Wade. And I think once the season ends, I am genuinely interested in some of his comments, but I think he's letting you in that window there by saying, quite frankly, there were games, I can spell them out for you.
Yeah.
Louisville, Virginia, where even Georgia Tech, Virginia at home, where they just didn't seem to care or weren't interested in playing at the level that was necessary. Again, these are all words that were used. You had questioned after the Kansas game and before the league schedule started. You said, well, what is the identity of this team?
I didn't know.
Well, neither did the coach.
Apparently not. He said it after the Miami game.
Yeah.
Miami has an identity. We're still trying to find ours. In February, that's a problem. Yeah. And this gets positioned, and I've been thinking about this a lot. kind of going back through the Will Wade clips, like, did I misremember what he said during the season about certain things? Because, what ends up happening is ESPN will do these montages like they did at the ACC tournament.
Yeah.
Will Wade's greatest hits. And we're focused more on the like Jim Mora playoffs or Herm Edwards,
you play the winning game.
Play to win the game, or that they are
winning plays.
They are who we thought they were, and all those other things. You get caught up in the I'm a man, I'm 40, rather than what's he actually saying. And I wanted to make sure I wasn't misremembering this stuff. And I'm having a hard time processing what it is that fans hear. Because we've been doing this for so long that I listen to coaches to see what they have to say and to see if they're giving you some insight about what they see at practice, which we can't see, right? You actually work the beat. I've never worked the beat. But if you were working the beat today, how much has been taken away from your ability to see what's really going on with the team?
All of it.
Right.
Yeah.
So you were reliant upon what are the coaches saying. And Will Wade has spent a good chunk of this year telling you this team has a problem, and he's been trying to fix it. It's not like he's accepting it. He's trying to find different ways to do it. That's how we end up with the Darian Williams, he makes winning plays, that kind of stuff. Just nothing's really worked to get them out of this lack of identity or this thing that a lot of NC State fans will watch and go, do you guys even want to be here today? So he's been trying to do that. When what I've been struggling with is I get if you're mad if we point this out, or you get annoyed if we point this out, and you start doing these weird, like, some accusations that people have accused us of, well, it's clear you just don't like this guy, yada, yada, yada. It's like, well, no, we're just talking about them in a critical way. And I think we have forgotten what it's like because of your media consumption, what it sounds like when somebody is offering some critical analysis backed up by what they've seen or backed up by what their coach is even saying. And I got to imagine, and I think it's very specific to a certain bubble, of fandom, not just NC State fans, just a specific, like, for instance, yesterday, I went back and forth with a guy who's a Duke fan who was super upset that the name Tyler Hansbrough was even invoked in talking about Cam Boozer, right? And you said, and I was very specific in the clip that I put together, so I know what I'm doing here. It was very specific to include the part where you said it's an insulting comp for Cam Boozer to be associated with Tyler Hansbrough, with the exception of this one thing that you pointed out, which was playing through contact. Yeah. Okay.
Very similar.
Very similar in that regard only.
That one.
And this one,
which, by the way, is a skill.
It's a skill.
To know how to still get the ball to the rim and take the contact.
But the Duke fan was apoplectic over the fact that, what are you even watching? I'm like, again, we're laying out what people have said and pointing out straight up, it's an insulting comp. Right. Okay. He was and is the best player in college basketball right now. Okay. And he'll likely have a better NBA career than Tyler Hansbrough.
Probably.
But again, those are things I don't know.
Tyler didn't have that bad of an NBA career, by the way.
But what I'm watching, and I'm just using this instance. There's a lot of these instances. It's just the most recent one over the last 24 hours. And I'm just wondering to myself, I get that people don't read anymore, but you're also not listening either, or you're selecting what you want to bang on because everything's in a negative form. And I see this getting back to Will Wade real quick. What I'm curious about is, what is your media, specifically your social media diet, that you're actually not even willing to listen to your coach who's telling you what's going on? No. I know what he's saying. Oh, he's being dramatic, or, oh, he's just trying to get to this team. No, he's just being honest. He's living in reality of what this team is. Yeah. But no. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go to this account called, like, I don't know, Angen Atzer Burner. I think that's a real one. I apologize. I'm trying to think of one that actually wouldn't exist. Like, I don't know, the Andrew Brackman's burner account. Okay. Maybe that one exists too. Shout out to the person who might have a Brackman burner account. JJ Hickson burner. That's
probably the one that's
okay. I'm cycling through, like, who would not have one? Yeah. JJ Hickson's burner would not be one that would work there. But that burner account's telling you it's all good. No. Don't listen. No, it's all good. It's all good. As somebody pointed out to me, it's like you're sounding a lot like Shane Willis and Mike Maniscalco on the Canes cast, where Shane tells fans, get off the couch. Like, go to the game, watch them, listen to what the coaches are telling you. And I think that's the thing that I've been really processing this entire time, that I'm like, were we too critical of NC State this year? And then I go back and I look at these clips and I go, actually, we weren't, because the coach was even harsher on this team. And now they're here.
Yeah, I mean, it's always nice to be validated by the coach or a player or something else, but you shouldn't need that in order to be critical of people.
I agree.
You know what I mean? Like, it's okay if we disagree. Like, that's the whole thing. Like, we see something a very certain way, and it's informed by understanding this area. It's informed by not only understanding NC State, but understanding North Carolina and Duke and how those dynamics work. It's not in a vacuum.
No.
Like, that's just the way that it is. And, you know, I'll just go back to the words of Rick King. Don't let them soften you. Don't let them soften you.
You want to go full U2? Don't let the bastards get you down.
Housekeeping.
Housekeeping is brought to you by Enovana. Check them out online at enovana.com.
If you have mess inside your mansion or trash in your cabana, get it clean with Enovana.
Let's have a meeting. So we are scheduled to have our OG Light bracket night tonight at Longleaf Swine. Tickets are closed. I know we're in, we got a tornado watch going on right now. We got some nasty storms that are going to be coming through. Hopefully things aren't as bad as some of the forecasts have shown. But our plan is to do a show tonight from Longleaf, and then we'll present that tomorrow morning. But then we go into NCAA Tournament After Dark protocol. So let's go back into meeting mode here. We want to do a show after the NC State Texas game?
Yes.
Okay. Alex going to join us?
I will text him.
Text Alex. See if Nunley wants to jump on. We'll do a normal show Wednesday, right? Okay. Thursday, I propose evening OG Live, which will happen after the Carolina VCU game. So they're scheduled to tip at 6:50, and then we could do like an actual proper OG Live at night.
Yeah, after Carolina,
after the Carolina game.
Yeah.
That way we can talk about what we've seen on Thursday. Excuse me, what we see on Thursday, Duke's game, start things off, yada yada yada. Right? Cool. Okay, and then we'll just do a normal mailbag on Friday, and then from there, I guess we got to play it by ear on Saturday.
I mean, Tushka. Yeah, because I think Duke and Carolina will
advance,
play interesting games.
Okay.
Carolina against Illinois, who they will lose to.
You want to do something Saturday night?
And then Duke against TCU, who they will beat.
Okay. You want to do something Saturday night?
Maybe the CBS gods will give us those games in the afternoon.
I would love if that's the case, but you know better than that. So I get it. You were like wishing that into existence. What? I don't understand.
The good news is they have to be back to back because they're both in Greenville.
This is true.
That's the good news.
That is the good news. So we I guess we got that going for us, which is
one
nice.
thing going for us.
So anyway, so that's the plan for the week. Big thanks to our guy Matt Davis. You can check him out online at insuregarner.com. Call him directly at 919-779-8277. You saw Matt while we were out. Now, is he going to travel? Is he going to go down to Greenville? We should probably hit him up.
Maybe, but he was down in Florida. He had left Charlotte, went down to Florida, spend some time down there.
Okay, cool.
But yeah, it was great to catch up with him at the in Charlotte.
It's good stuff.
He's awesome.
So check it out, insuregarner.com, 919-779-8277. You got insurance questions, he can answer them. You're thinking about some long-term financial planning, he can handle that for you as well. Also, big thanks to Roback. Saw a lot of Roback while we were in Charlotte, man.
I just can't lean in enough to take credit for it.
I want to. They're all using promo code OG20.
No, it's such a big golf city, though. I feel like
now James alerted us to the fact that he already saw two Robacks in Panama City. I'm like, please tell them if they want more to use the promo code OG20. I want to see a spike in IP address sales from Panama City during spring break.
Our friends.
So go to roadback.com, use that promo code OG20. Again, that's OG20. Also, big thanks to our friends at Hometown Realty. I don't know, I might hit them up and be like, yo, man, some of those bungalows in the Wesley Park neighborhood where we stayed at for the Airbnb, they're kind of nice. Spot. I kind of like that area.
We got an HTR event next Thursday.
Yes, that's when we will be out at Drive Shack for a agent appreciation, and we're supposed to give a pep talk.
We got to give a speech, motivational speech.
That'll be interesting. Go to myhtr.com.
On Wall Street.
Again, that's myhtr.com.
It's a Fugazi. It's a Fugazi. It's pixie dust. It doesn't exist.
Also, big thanks to Whitaker and Hamer, wh.lawyer. Any traffic violations?
No. I made it.
Thank goodness.
Looks like we made it.
Hey, look, I was trying to avoid some disaster in Charlotte not getting towed. I realized I parked in the wrong media spot in the deck, like at Piedmont Community College, like the first day. So I ran back to go back into the deck where we're supposed to be, and then made it back. It was pretty easy process to do. And then I guess we got lucky on Saturday night because there was like a bazillion things going on in Uptown Charlotte on Saturday night.
There's a lot.
And somehow there was one. This is why driving a small car has its benefits. Mm-hmm. And I was able to squeeze that Civic into a tight spot with a rock being removed, thanks to you, who made it work. I also made it back from Charlotte with no traffic violations. But if I did, if they could do something simple like that for you, just hit them up, wh.lawyer. They obviously have a lot of other things that they do. They got offices across the state. In the meantime, just hit them up, wh.lawyer. Again, that's wh.lawyer.
Seeded territory, the bracket is the story. Patrick Stevens tells it like it is.
There he is, Patrick Stevens, OG Media senior bracketologist, joining us on the Heister Automotive Group hotline. Patrick, I feel like this is the scene from Lord of the Rings. It's done.
It is
the
done.
Bracket is in Mordor. It's finally over. Your initial thoughts on the bracket when they were unveiled last night?
There weren't really a ton of surprises. I thought this was kind of a basic year. Like there wasn't a whole lot that stood out. I mean, I thought Vanderbilt was underseeded as a 5. And there were a couple minor things throughout that it's like I didn't necessarily expect, but doesn't qualify as surprising or shocking. I didn't think NC State would be in Dayton. They are. There's certainly some numbers that you can use to argue that. So you look throughout the 1 seeds made a lot of sense. The 2 seeds made a lot of sense. And I thought in general, the committee did a pretty good job. And there's a certain consistency to a lot of it. I got kind of tripped up in that 8, 9, 10, 11 range. But I thought that those top 7 lines, it wasn't too hard. And I thought the 2 through 4 was a little muddled going in. And they actually sorted it out kind of similar to what I thought outside of that Vanderbilt situation.
Speaking of doing a good job, you two struggle when it comes to taking compliments. So let's just go to your Twitter page. The quick tally, 48 of the 68 teams seeded correctly. That sounds pretty good to me. 67 to 68 seeded within 1 line. Vanderbilt got you thrown off there. It seems like they got screwed if they had 10 Q1 wins. That might tell us that all Q1 wins aren't created equal. 68 to 68 in the field.
Hey, Patrick.
Okay.
And the correct first 4 on the outside in order as well. So there's a reason. And look at Chris taking care of us. Fantastic job. Have enjoyed Seeded Territory Talks with Joe Ovies and Joe Giglio. So there's a reason that we have you on, in addition to the fact that we like you. The truth of the matter is you're the best at who does this.
Agree.
And it drives me absolutely insane when people try to quote me other people. I don't even know what the other guy did because I don't care. I know what you did. And right down to stupid caveman Giglio being like, you have Texas in? Why do you have we couldn't have scripted that. Like the fact that it's Texas playing NC State and I'm sitting over here incredulous like, how bad is this bubble, Patrick?
Yeah.
Wasn't good.
Texas in the
it wasn't good. And just think about this. If Miami of Ohio loses, Oklahoma's in the field.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Or if Miami of Ohio wins, if they win the MAC, then Oklahoma's in the field instead.
All right, let's actually get to some of the mechanics of this. First and foremost, let's get into my independent film, like an arty film, right? That just shows you like, what is up with this movie? There's 5 different storylines going on at once. Are they interconnected in any sort of way? Of course they are, because we're all humans and we're all connected in some sort of way. And in college basketball, I feel like that's really true when we get to NCAA tournament time. All of this is a big, long wind up to, did Herb Sendek cause NC State to go to Dayton?
Quite possibly that victory over St. Mary's might have been able to do it for him. That might just be the difference.
That might just be the difference, huh? Okay. Which now gets us to the mechanics of this. And Keith Gill, who is the NCAA tournament committee chair, was asked about this last night on the selection show in the rematch protocol being kind of hand waved away for the NC State Texas game. As one of our texters pointed out, man, Randy Woodson did such a bang up job that we get to see Texas twice in a season and not UNC. Way to go. That was not your burner, Joe? You did not burner text?
Gotta check on that 7181 number.
Okay, I'm just saying that you did not burner text the OG Sports phone, just making
Good
sure.
work, Randy.
So why are they playing again? Because I know the common sentiment is, well, why don't you just swap Miami and SMU? What are we doing here?
So the issue there would have been that in a second round game, that NC State would have played a Virginia team that it played 3 times.
Okay, that's
No,
what I
you
thought.
don't. You could just put Miami and State together. You don't have to put them on the same line. You don't have to bracket them in. You could have made the Miami.
I've got to actually look at this
winner.
a little bit here. If you switch Texas in there, then they're playing Tennessee in a first round game.
Okay,
so
that makes more sense. That's a conference.
So and I can tell you, having gone through kind of rebuilding the thing yesterday morning, that those play-in games created real problems because you had SMU, you had 2 ACC teams on the 6 line. I had 2 SEC teams there. And oh, by the way, you also had the variable of BYU on the 6 line having to be in a Thursday, Saturday site in a Thursday, Saturday region. So there was a lot of stuff. And it took me a while to kind of unspool that and figure out a way to make it work. And I imagine that the committee needed some time to do that yesterday as well.
So their own So these are just principles. First of all, the rematch is a principle.
It's not a rule. Yeah, let me rephrase. These are things they'd like to avoid.
But I think in their hierarchy, putting conference teams together supersedes a rematch of a game from Hawaii.
Correct.
So that makes more sense. That makes more sense. Now, why they put them there, why they put State in the playing round over Santa Clara or Missouri or one of these other teams, I actually think there's a pretty clear explanation for that, right, Patrick?
Yeah, I think you look at it, and when you size up those teams on the 10 and 11 line and even going down into the first 4 out, like the WAB really is what kind of is the number that stands out more than anything else.
I'm going to pull this up right now from WAB Watch. Chris Gallo, who does the Bless Your Chart newsletter, which I'm a big fan of, has a website called WAB Watch. You can just do straight up comparisons. Here's the NC State Santa Clara WAB comparison. That look about right, Patrick?
That looks about right. It's Santa Clara has an edge there. I mean, in terms of the actual numerical ranking, Santa Clara was 36th and NC State was 43rd. And so you look at the 10 seeds, Santa Clara 36, Central Florida 29, Missouri 42, Texas A&M 40, NC State was 43. One other thing that I think really stands out is the quad 4 loss to Georgia Tech. And that was at home.
Yeah.
And so
if there's a recurring theme of today's show, it's don't lose to Georgia Tech, which Will Wade said this is going to bite us in the ass. And here we are.
And the only other quad 4 loss for any of the teams on that chart, well, there were 2. There was the Miami of Ohio loss to UMass, but there was also the Santa Clara loss to Loyola Chicago on a neutral court back in December, I think it was. So, for NC State to have done that at home, I think that was a differentiating factor along with the WAB compared to those other teams that were able to avoid Dayton.
So for those watching on YouTube, I've pulled up Patrick's Excel spreadsheet of 10 through 11 in the first 4 out. I guess we could paint a picture here. What exactly are we looking at, Patrick?
You are looking at the record, net, WAB, quad 1, 2, 3, 4 records, and the road and road plus neutral records for the teams that were the last 8 teams into the field as at-larges, 4 of them avoiding Dayton, 4 of them going to Dayton, and then also the first 4 teams left out of the field, or the 4 teams just on the outside: Oklahoma, Auburn, San Diego State, and Indiana. And you look at it, and it's pretty clear as to, why did SMU get picked over Oklahoma? Why did Texas A&M and Missouri and Santa Clara not go to Dayton, and NC State has to? I mean, I think NC State has a better profile by a fair bit over the other 3 teams. Certainly better than Texas and SMU.
Okay.
I thought going into the weekend that they would be able to, outlast Santa Clara. And part of that, you're sitting there trying to guess what the committee's going to do. And if there's one thing that's tripped me up year after year after year over the last 4 or 5 years, it's that I have consistently overseeded Mountain West teams relative to what the committee does. Okay. And I had Utah State on the 8 line this time, and they were a 9. Mm-hmm. And so I thought that might just translate over to how they treated Santa Clara as well. But forgot, of course, the old Giglio rule. It helps to have a friend on the committee, helps to have it. But also, I do think that the WAB number did help Santa Clara out a great deal. And outside of that quad 4 loss, like if you just put a blind test there, you'd probably sit there and say that the team that's over 500 in quad 1 plus quad 2 games was the best team out of that bunch.
Okay. One last thing before we get into, I feel like this is a moment for a little bit more education. I felt like last year should have been the breakthrough moment for wins above the bubble in how North Carolina got into Dayton. Okay. Mm-hmm. And yet people didn't want to use it as an educational point to start looking at that more than you would other metrics. People, I feel like, we're still 5 years behind obsessing over net, not understanding that net is simply a sorting tool for the NCAA selection committee. And that WAB is highly unique in that you can use any of these sorting metrics, net, Ken Pom, Bart Torvik, put them into WAB, into the wins above the bubble, and get a good idea of how you did against your schedule. That's the entire point of this metric. How did you do against your schedule compared to what an average bubble team would do against your schedule? And when you look at NC State, they were very much a team in the grand scheme of things. So I would imagine that from here on out, we need to start paying more attention to that metric more than anything else. It's almost like a mathematical way of Giglio's favorite thing. How did you do against the teams that made the field? You always bang on that. Yeah. How did you do against teams that made the field? This one is a mathematical way of assessing how did you do against your schedule compared to somebody else. And NC State was just versus Santa Clara, which was better against their schedule.
Yeah, and I would take away that at this time last year, I don't think anybody knew exactly how much that metric was going to be relied upon by the committee.
Okay.
And so at that point, you don't know how much to emphasize it. But the whole point of, trying to do this forecast day in and day out is trying to guess what the committee will do based on its past actions. Mm-hmm. And so last year, we got a pretty good sense of that's going to be really important. Mm-hmm. And so, I thought I definitely looked at that number a lot in sizing stuff up. I would tell you that it was the results-based metrics led by that that I was looking really, really closely at. I probably didn't look enough at the result-based metrics in terms of building a seed list, because that explains sort of why Miami of Ohio is theoretically like not the last team in the field, but the last team in the field. And there's an interesting mechanical discussion to be had there as well. But I do think that moving forward, it's pretty clear that unless they overturn a lot of stuff with this process, that's a number that you're really going to have to keep an eye on.
I also think one thing created by these expanded conferences that I'm only now realizing this while we're having this conversation. And Bruce Pearl actually mentioned this last night about how if you're going to have 10 teams from one conference, it's going to complicate things. Well, I'll add the conclusion. If you're going to have 10 teams from one conference, or 8 in the case of the ACC, you're going to complicate things. And so just looking at the Missouri number, well, they're matched up against Miami in the first round. Again, what are things that they are truly going to avoid? Conference teams playing in the first round, right? Mm-hmm. Same thing on the other side. St. Mary's is a 7. So Santa Clara can't be the 10 with St. Mary's.
Correct.
So they're now all of a sudden. Now look at who the other 7s, look who the other 7s and 10s are. Mm-hmm. Kentucky, SEC. Texas A&M, SEC. Right? Missouri, SEC. Mm-hmm. So I think at the end, all of the extra teams who get in are almost always going to be at the edge of the field. So that's why you're going to have a situation where maybe you don't think NC State belongs in the first 4, but just the mechanics of the bracket and the number of teams from these major conferences are pushing more teams towards that first 4. And again, every year there's one designated survivor that they put in the first 4 every year. And it just so happened to be Miami this year. There was really no other choice. Santa Clara would have been the other choice.
Was the other choice.
Yeah. So by that, I mean, if you look at the history of the first 4, there's always a mid-major that they put in there. That's like that's the one bone they throw.
It is now 13 out of 15 years there's been at least one. And every year since 2018.
Yeah. They use it. And which is fine. I mean, we could have a larger conversation one day about, I thought Frank Martin raised this, as you mentioned, UMass being a Q4 loss for Miami of Ohio. It's like, I said this at the beginning of the year, like, what are we basing Duke's Ken Pom number on? We're basing it on the Boozer twins numbers in the EYBL? Like, and I get it. I'm using the wrong example because of the way that Duke performs, but Frank Martin was bringing this up. Like, our preseason number is based on what?
Yeah.
And now the NCAA is doing this as a result of the mid-majors figuring out how to con the RPI. So they got rid of it. And now they've created a system where the major conferences get to con the net.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And it really does keep these other teams, just looking at the edge of that board and looking at Miami's metrics, like, you could use every single case against including Miami in this field if you wanted to. You really could. And I think ultimately what saved them was that designated survivor in the first 4. And that's too bad. I actually feel Frank Martin now, who's on that, mid-major level, is like, wait a second, this whole system's rigged against us.
So,
Frank, yes, it is.
So the other thing there is, I also think there's a little bit of a human tendency to look at a team that won 31 games and was undefeated up until the second week of March. And there's probably something in the back of those folks' minds saying, if we leave this team out, there's going to be a lot of blowback.
Yeah.
And,
17 and 16 Auburn team. Yeah.
Yeah. In favor of particularly if it had been in favor of a 17 and 16 Auburn team. And so I kind of look at that situation. It was an interesting learning experience there as they're talking about, well, this team wasn't the last team in, but we scrubbed everything and shoved them toward the end. It does kind of beg the question, like, did you actually bother to compare the last at-large team on your seed list to the first at-large team on the outside? Because if they had been voted in beforehand, and now they're sitting there, but these other teams, NC State, SMU, Texas, are ahead of them.
Yeah.
Does Oklahoma have a little bit of a gripe? Is there a mechanical flaw in the process? I don't know, but it was certainly the one question I had coming out of that portion of the discussion last night. It's like, wait, did you guys actually line Miami and Oklahoma up? For what it's worth, and I don't remember if I told you guys this Saturday or not, but I had Miami on the 10 line because I really didn't know what the committee was going to do with it. I thought it was going to be anywhere from like a 9 seed to the last team in the field, and I hedged my bets and said 10 seed. So it's possible that they voted Miami in much earlier in the week, maybe even before they lost in that MAC quarterfinal, and then just kind of had them in. I don't know the answer to that. So
yeah, their metrics are so wonky, Miami's, and it's interesting. But it started to become a conversation because they were unbeaten, and I think you're going to see a different team in Dayton. Of course, it helps that they're an hour from Dayton, but I think you're going to see a different team. I think they're going to take care of SMU. I wish they had a better matchup in the second round, but Rick Barnes doesn't lose to teams like that. I think they're going to win one game, and I think the way that they ended the season was tight butt protocols. You know what I mean? Like every game, they got into that Gonzaga tight butt protocol of like, oh shit, if we don't win by 1,000, then everyone's going to think we're fraudulent. And it's like, no, just win. Just keep winning. Just keep playing your game. So I think it's going to be fascinating to see how they fare in Dayton. But again, Patrick, appreciate you, all your work for us. Really fantastic stuff. And I love one of the tweets I got was about Patrick's still the GOAT from 2014. When you had NC State in and you were the only one that had NC State. And I was like, well, he's the GOAT for other reasons, not just the one time that he picked your team when no one else had your team in. But I know it's not easy keeping up with everything. And I thought everything worked out on oviesandgiglio.com. So I appreciate all your efforts.
I appreciate you guys giving me a landing spot here for the last month or so.
Do we have a final bobblehead?
We do. And in honor of the tournament, we're going to offer you up Bill Raftery with onions.
With onions. Yes.
Was this a Seton Hall bobblehead?
It's a Seton Hall. Let's zoom in there. You can see the pirate logo there. Is it there? There we go.
There it is.
So
how did you acquire this?
Now this was an eBay find. I couldn't get a free one, but that was definitely an eBay find. How do you pass up? By the way, it kind of looks like Jay Wright.
Look, Jay
Wright probably wouldn't dress in a 70s suit, right?
No. As we've discussed, I think there's only a limited set of bobblehead heads, and then they try to do their best to make it look like, through skin tone, hair color, that kind of thing. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't think they're doing truly 3D printed bobbleheads to get your exact image and likeness. Just a thought on that one. Patrick, we appreciate it. As always, we'll do it again next year, my man.
Awesome, fellas. Thanks so much.
Of course, we could not have done our coverage without Patrick Stevens. So again, big thanks to him for all of his contributions to the website and to the podcast over the last couple of weeks. Also, a huge thanks to our friends at Bloomin' Blinds. It was all in on the After Darks this past week at the ACC tournament. So since they supported us, there's only one way to support us as well. That's you supporting our corporate champions.
Mm-hmm.
So if you like the coverage, if you like what we do, hey, call up Bloomin' Blinds. Hit them up at 919-980-9815 or just visit the website bloominblinds.com. We'll be back in After Dark protocols on Tuesday night. But in the meantime, hit them up, 919-980-9815. If you are looking for blackout shades, some outdoor automated shades, some sunshades, you're trying to get more use out of your back patio.
I was going to say, you get as fancy as you want, or it could just be something as basic as, I've been in this house for, 20 years. And man, what a pain in the ass it was to put those blinds up 20 years ago. And you know what I really don't want to do? Change them out myself. Well,
call them. 919-980-9815. Also, big thanks to Bailey's Fine Jewelry. This is the week, Saturday and Sunday. Spend some time outside of watching the NCAA tournament to head on over to Fox and Bailey for their vintage shop, their vintage watch extravaganza. I'm going to check it out. I'm looking forward to it. Curious what they got. I'll probably walk out of there with some records too, because I'm a sicko like that.
Yeah, you got a birthday.
I do have a birthday coming up. Yeah,
so
Thursday's my birthday.
Get yourself an OG treat on Thursday.
Thursday is my birthday. We'll have a good time.
Although
47.
Again, our guy already gave you the greatest birthday gift of all time. Hey, the thing about your podcast is it sounds really good.
You're right.
All these other people, their sound sucks.
I don't know what's up with their audio.
Hey, don't tell me about my coffee, okay? The Wolf, Quentin Tarantino. Coffee's great, Jimmy. And listen. Don't tell me about my coffee. You want to get Ovies something for his birthday? Just tell him how great the podcast.
Podcasts are good. Thank you. Now you got to look good.
Short of that, though, is a new G-Shock.
Yes. Now you want to look good because again, watches. Hey man, those are accessories now, and they got some great stuff over at BaileyBox.com. Find out more for their watch event coming up this weekend on Saturday and Sunday. Again, that's BaileyBox.com. Maybe you're looking for an engagement ring and you're thinking to yourself, man, engagement rings, like how fancy you want to get? Like, look, I got my engagement ring at Bailey's coming out of college. All right. So they understood
Here's my budget.
They understood, what does the general manager of WKNC pull in a month?
You got stacks on stacks compared to my technician.
Yeah, I want to say
stipend.
I got $600 a month as a general manager.
I got
what was
$50
your
bucks from technician.
That's it?
A month.
A month?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I didn't realize running a radio station at the time, running a radio station might get you some bank. I don't know about that anymore. Anyway,
I never got paid for anything for my KNC shifts.
You should have.
Never did.
You should have at least minimum gotten like $25 a shift. And then gotten more if you were running NC State baseball. That's where people made their money. Because that money was coming from Wolfpack Sports Marketing.
I think I did about 2 shifts a week.
Well, either way,
last year.
Whatever budget you have, trust me, I know this because they did it with me many, many years ago. They'll work with that budget.
No, I'm just mad because...
What? Oh, because you got your employee... I got it.
Slippery hands.
I got it. You got your December 1995 employee of the month.
Yeah.
What that?
I don't even remember what that's for.
I just love like the handshaking with the laurels.
Predator.
Like, what is that about? Anyway, I got lost here.
Gosh.
Doesn't matter. The point is, you got a budget.
He's 30 years old.
You got a budget. They will work with you. If you want to splurge, well, then contact our friends at Miller Lending and refinance. All right. Use that home equity.
It was the only time I ever won. No,
you've won stuff.
Stupid APSC awards.
Shout out to our guy, Gordon Miller. I know he is.
Shout out to Cam Wentz. That's how I won my APSC award in 2012.
Oh, okay.
When he said Alabama type recruits, I was the only one.
Do you want real quick story time with Cam Wentz? When I insulted
oh my God.
When I insulted
oh my God. Like you.
So quick, we're all the Thirsty Beaver. Cam Wentz comes to hang out with us. For those who don't know, Cam Wentz, NC State player, offensive lineman. I think at one point I got going into radio mode and I said, look, man, Russell Wilson finally went to a place with a real offensive line. And I went, oh, wait a minute. And I got a whole lecture on, hey, just so you know, not all sacks are on the offensive line.
That was an enlightening conversation.
And it ended up being a really enlightening conversation, to which I told Cam, dude, why are you not doing this? Come on, man. We're going to talk to Cam this summer, I think. Tell some stories. It'll be good. Yeah. So, yes, the way Cam...
Great moments.
The way Cam looked at me when I was like, hey, he goes to Wisconsin. He finally has an offensive line. And I'm just like, shit.
Yeah.
Oh, well.
Left Raleigh and finally got a real radio sports talk show to listen to in Charlotte.
Well, I mean, credit to WFNC. They do a great job. Anyway, call up Miller Lending, 919-447-3377.
Yeah, please call up Miller Lending.
Yeah, call them. Come on, guys. Come on. You need to refinance. We know you need to refinance. Come on now. Call them.
Credit cards, whatever else is going on.
If you're like me, you're up to your dead and eyeballs right now. So let's go. 919-447-3377. What's that? Oh, I'm up to my eyeballs in debt.
I like it. You're way better, actually.
I'm up to debt in my eyeballs. I got so many eyeballs. I don't know what to do with them. Anyway, 919-447-3377, MillerLending.com. Tell them we sent you. You will get a gift basket from our friends at the Butcher's Market. If you're not interested in refinancing, okay, I get it. Fine. Totally understandable. But if you're interested in some NCAA tournament spreads, you don't want to leave your house this weekend, you just want to watch a bunch of stuff, you want a snack, buddy, they got snacks at the Butcher's Market. Dips, appetizers, good chips, salsa, like fresh salsa in the refrigerated area. All fantastic stuff. And if you don't have time to cook, don't worry about it either because they got meals ready to go. So hit them up, thebutchersmarkets.com.
Would you try kangaroo?
I'll try anything once.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll try anything once.
I went yesterday to the Holly Springs location. You know, the 540 opened on my side of the world.
Mm-hmm.
And I enjoy using it because I'm from New Jersey and I don't mind paying tolls. Like there's a lot of people who live in Garner who are like, I will not use that toll road.
Whatever.
And I'm like, oh my goodness gracious, people. It's fantastic. It's very easy to get to Holly Springs. I got the salmon.
Okay.
I got the crab cakes. The crab cakes are delicious. I noticed as I was exiting, though, they have that freezer of like exotic meats.
Yeah, they got like oxtail. They got like the super fancy cuts of meat, like Wagyu burgers and stuff like that.
They have kangaroo.
I've never had kangaroo.
I feel like that's one of those meats where they should change the name of the meat so that you would not have the image of like the hopping kangaroo with the jelly in the pouch. And like, you don't want to think about eating the joey. You want to think about like,
well, I mean,
you change the name of the kangaroo
fair.
to eat the kangaroo.
Do you want? Should we buy some? I'm curious now.
I am too.
Like, how do you prepare kangaroo?
I think you put it like in tacos, like it's like a ground chuck.
Oh,
you just put your Ovies. I don't know.
Is it like buffalo? Like bison?
I think it was ground kangaroo. I
Okay,
think that's what it was.
Now I'm curious.
See, again, if you called it something else.
When you say ground kangaroo, I'm like,
you feel bad.
Damn, man.
You feel bad. You're not thinking of that one Jack kangaroo who's punching people.
Right, I was going to say.
Like, we could kill that one and eat him up.
If you have to put yourself in the mindset that the kangaroo that is now ground up is the one that if you didn't get it, it was going to get you. That jacked up, yoked kangaroo. You don't want that. Okay. Go to thebutchersmarkets.com. I feel like we're in crunch. Well, we are in crunch time. Carolina Hurricanes. I feel like we should like at least highlight something here real quick before we get to the social media dump. 16 games in less than a month, starting tomorrow.
Yeah,
they're at Columbus tomorrow. Their season wraps up in mid-April. They've got 16 games during this stretch.
7, 14, 21, 28 days. 16 games in 28 days.
That's insane. Now, when we last left the Carolina Hurricanes, you were all like, told you about Jordan Bennington.
I did not. Somebody texted in or called in and said, damn it, Giglio, you were right.
And then it looked.
I did not.
I was more concerned with the Tampa game over the weekend. In that, I wasn't watching the game, obviously, because we were in Charlotte watching basketball.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden I'm seeing, the Canes are up 2-0 on Tampa. All right. I see what's up here. A little tone setting because we understand that Tampa and Carolina are on a collision course once we get into the postseason. And then it got tied up 2-2. And I thought to myself, no, here we go. I forgot that the Carolina Hurricanes are legally obligated to start every third period tied at this point, or enjoy a third period where they're up 2 goals and then they watch it vanish, right? That's just kind of been a bugaboo for them as the season goes on. But they ended up pulling that thing out 4-2. Seth Jarvis got into a fight, which I know that Rod Brind'Amour wasn't really happy about, but he was sticking up for Fishy. Okay? Growth for everybody.
Canes are now 6-3 since the reset with 2 wins over Tampa. This one on the road, this one over Andre Vasilevsky. I would normally say let's not get too worried about some of these results down the stretch, especially as we head into the washer.
Yeah.
But now with 90 points, by the way, Buffalo is winning that division with 88 points. If my bracket is written in stars, I could only imagine what I'll be picking for the Stanley Cup.
So I was catching up on some reading. This was back on March 10th from Corey Lavalette over at The Athletic. And the headline reads, disappointment around Hurricanes trade deadline shows their trust in Stankoven. And the quote was from Rod Brind'Amour. I believe he said this to Tripp, if I remember correctly. Sorry, last week was all a blur. Quote, I know there's a lot of disappointment. I'm going to be honest. He continued to say the players were hoping to see us make a splash. It's tough. Brind'Amour, I'm reading directly from Corey's piece. Brind'Amour did, however, acknowledge that adding an impact player would have likely meant disrupting the current mix. And you can bet the deadline's big sellers were asking Carolina's younger players in return. Obviously, that would include somebody like Logan Stankoven or what people think about Nikishin and his ceiling. Like, if you're going to make a big move, it's going to require something like this to make it happen. And again, I keep going back to Eric Tulsky's press availability at the trade deadline, where he says that it's gotten more difficult to make your team better as they've progressed through this, in combination with, we can all agree, was a wonky trade deadline where some teams did not move on from players that you thought they would move on from. And that has to do with conditions about the cap going up, what the NHL has done in the past to kind of change how teams can stack their roster going into the postseason. There's all sorts of wonky cap space mechanics of an NHL roster that I don't understand, but those who do understand it all said the same thing. It was a weird trade deadline. So you throw all that stuff together, you get this. Focusing, I think there's a little bit too much focus on the disappointment aspect. But if you were to try to like try to pick that apart. I would say
it's an interesting thing for him to say.
I agree. I have a theory to that. The way I would look at it is where Corey goes in this piece about Logan Stankoven and the belief that they have in a guy like that. So the room is disappointed. You should spin it of, no, we think you guys are good enough to make this thing work. You've been good enough all season. And when you put that in the context of what they've had to work through in terms of injuries at the beginning of the year, and also finding this diamond in the rough in Brandon Bussey to get to this point, to have this record, well, then, yeah, it should be confidence that you are good enough to make this thing work in the NHL postseason. Now, as far as Brendan Moore is concerned, I do think this is year what now for Rod? 7? Am I losing track here?
Yeah, 8.
7? Is it 7 or 8? I've lost track. It's all running together now. We have been, it is consistent with something that goes back to last year and why the feelings are that the way that they are around the Canes and why people are gripping tight. This isn't 2019 anymore.
This is 8th year.
8th year. Thank you.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
Math. You go back, it's kind of the stuff that we talked about after their exit against the Florida Panthers last year, that you're never going to recapture 2019. That was a moment in time, having missed the playoffs for a long time, having gone through some coaching, gone through some coaches that you would like to not talk about, right? And you have Rod, the Stanley Cup winner, the guy who is just the connecting fabric to everything related to the Carolina Hurricanes, making this thing go, getting back to the playoffs and having a hook, the bunch of jerks, right? The problem now is that the Carolina Hurricanes are not the disruptor. The Carolina Hurricanes are not coming out of nowhere. The Carolina Hurricanes are a regular season standard. And now everybody's wondering, can they take that next step beyond being a very good regular season team that historically wins their first round? We're going to include the bubble in terms of winning the first round. Now what? And I do think that saying it's getting to Rod is a stretch, but you can see year to year incremental stress points where you can tell things are getting tight because they know you can't keep getting back to this point and not get over. You got to know that at some point you're going to wonder, well, it makes you almost rethink, why do we get to this point and then it just doesn't work beyond that? And that starts to mess with you because you've had all this other success, except when you get to this point. And as much as I can just say, hey, man, you just happen to be doing this when the Florida Panthers were an all-time heater. Okay, cool. That was the excuse for the last 2 years. What are you going to do? They're on an all-time heater, man. Well, now they're out of the way. And the Eastern Conference looks very achievable for the Carolina Hurricanes. Because I don't think the Tampa Bay Lightning are any better than them. And that Tampa Bay Lightning team is not a Florida Panthers team. That's not what they are. I think, and there's some similarities. I get all that stuff. And yes, you do have another Russian goalie. I've made that joke. Oh, a team from Florida with a Russian goalie? But based on what I've seen so far, I don't think Tampa's in any way, shape, or form that much better than Carolina. So I think that's what's adding a little bit to the pressure points for Rod this year. I'll be curious to see how they enter the postseason, maybe with a little bit more lemon booty than the past. Maybe. Especially when the thing seems to be open for you in the Eastern Conference.
I mean, Rod is so process driven.
Yeah.
That I don't know if he shares your viewpoint on this.
He shouldn't.
Yeah. But in the off season is probably when we get more of that type of window into where his brain was.
Mm-hmm.
I just think right now it's more of this, where are
Let's
you?
get through this.
The disappointing comment is very interesting. It also tracks with what my reaction was to what they did at the deadline. So
fair enough.
Giglio's social crap.
Your phone really has been listening, hasn't it?
Yeah.
You want to start with let's start with the Carolina thing here, because I know you have been on 1984.
Mm-hmm.
Carolina 1984, one of the best Carolina teams that ever existed, but didn't because of injury.
Went unbeaten in ACC play when the ACC was the ACC. Also, that's Michael Jordan. I know people love to point out, like, well, he got a jump shot. He did this. He did that by the end of his career.
Mm-hmm.
Give me 84 Michael Jordan over any other version of Michael Jordan. I'm being serious.
Tudor will try to stop him. Smith couldn't make the dunk. The foul's on Tudor at this fourth. And Jordan went after Tudor for a moment. The officials back Michael up. The officials say they have it. Dale Brown has gone down, and I think he wants something called on Michael Jordan. Now Tudor and Jordan are saying okay. It was just the heat of the moment that got to both of them. Tudor was trying to stop the Kenny Smith layup, caught him. Kenny went down. Kenny was coming in, angling in from the right. Tudor caught him up under the neck to try to foul him. I don't think Tudor meant to do that. He knocks him down, and Jordan, in the heat of the moment, went after Tudor. Well, you know, Woody, the angle at which Kenny Smith was going at the basket, it was a little bit of a dangerous angle to try to do that one-handed dunk like he was trying to do. And I think Tudor was doing his job trying to make the foul to keep him from getting there, but there was just no way that either one of those guys is going to come out of that.
I'm going to pause it right there because they're showing on the broadcast. That's Woody Durham on the Tar Heel Radio Network. They're pulling up all these, freshmen who started, first game, et cetera, et cetera. You got Michael Jordan in 81, and I think we forget how good freaking Kenny Smith was.
Kenny Smith that year was fantastic.
Phenomenal.
That game was played at the end of January,
Mm-hmm.
and that is among the all-time what-ifs. Now, Kenny Smith did come back that season, but obviously with a broken wrist as a point guard, not the same player. But that team was just ridiculously loaded with Jordan and Brad Daugherty and Sam Perkins and Kenny Smith. And like, hello.
So I know,
people.
I think Carolina fans understand that when we talk about the what ifs, we don't mean it in any sort of like negative way.
No.
There are a lot of Carolina teams that go into the what if pantheon. Okay. This is one of them, which fast forward to this year with Caleb Wilson and the what if pantheon. And you sent me this clip of Caleb
Wilson. You're going
to
enjoy this because you haven't seen it. You can just fast forward to like the last 15 seconds if you want.
You just want me to fast? Okay, I'll just.
Yeah.
So what's the whole purpose of the clip?
So this is obviously filmed before he had gotten injured. It's a State Farm deal, so it's NIL for them.
Yeah.
The team account posted it, but they do something called stanchion to stanchion, which is the Jay Billis 94-foot thing where you talk and answer questions.
He said he ate 67 honey buns in one sitting.
Yeah, I mean, you can listen to the whole thing if you want, but
I'm curious.
Go ahead.
Let's just play the whole thing, shall we? Well, sound would be good. Where'd the sound go?
Instagram could be wonky.
Oh, this is Facebook.
Oh, okay.
So let me see what we got here. Let's try that.
Caleb Wilson, are you ready to go stanchion to stanchion?
Yes, sir. I'm ready. Let's do it.
Energy drink or coffee?
Definitely an energy drink.
Hype or chill playlist before games?
I'm a chill guy, so I got to go chill playlist.
Binge a TV show or watch weekly as it comes out?
Definitely binge it. I'm not that patient.
What's been your favorite class at UNC so far?
Definitely geography with my boy Chap.
Play video games or watch a movie?
Definitely watch a movie.
3, 2, 1.
Perfect honey bun is warm. It's been in the microwave for about 18 seconds. It's just perfect.
And how many could you eat in one sitting?
Definitely like 67 of them.
Headphones or speaker?
I definitely go with headphones lately. I like to keep my music in my own ears.
Festival in an open field or concert in a stadium?
Probably concert in the stadium for sure.
That's the correct answer, by the way.
Really?
Shout out to Caleb, knowing that concert in the stadium is the way to go, not a festival in the field where you can't see anything.
You missed his country music take, but
oh, okay, fine.
All right, last one. What is the stanchion?
This thing right here, that's what I'm trying to break.
Oh no. Look, man, if you know one mode, you know one mode. Okay? He's referring to the basket.
And then they show him dunking very hard. This is how he broke his hand dunking in practice. He's trying to pull the stanchion down.
Yeah.
All you got to do is look for the answers. They're out there. You just got to find them.
Clearly, your Instagram algorithm is feeding you some. Let's remember some dudes. So I know you've been saying Duke, Arizona,
written in the stars.
Written in the stars. We're going to get a run it back in the national championship game. And this is from an account called Throwback Hoops. And this is the starting lineups for the championship game.
I mean,
Duke, Arizona.
I'd forgotten really.
7 from Chicago, Illinois. We're number 2, Michael Wright. At forward for Duke, a sophomore listed at 6'8", from Lake Oswego, Oregon, number 34, Mike Dunleavy.
I refuse to believe that Mike Dunleavy's that old. I refuse.
At forward for Arizona, a junior listed at 6'7", from Phoenix, Arizona, number 44, Richard Jefferson.
As a junior.
At forward for Duke, a senior listed at 6'8", from Birmingham, Michigan, number 31, Shane Battier. At center for Arizona, a senior listed at 7'1", from St. Louis, Missouri, wearing number 3, Lauren Woods. At center for Duke, a sophomore listed at 6'11", from Tampa, Florida, number 20, Casey Sanders. At guard for Arizona.
By the way, do they make Casey Sanders anymore?
Like, think of Casey Sanders. What I'm getting at is how many schools do you think Casey Sanders would have gone to in an NIL portal era?
Probably a few.
Like, you could stash a Casey Sanders
back in the day. Yeah,
that's what I'm getting at.
Yeah.
Sophomore listed at 6'3", from North Hollywood, California, number 0, Gilbert Arenas. At guard for Duke, a freshman listed at 6'1", from Slidell, Louisiana, number 21, Chris Duhon. At guard for Arizona, a sophomore listed at 5'10", from Indianapolis, Indiana, number 22, Jason Gardner. And at guard for Duke, a sophomore listed at 6'2", from Plainfield, New Jersey, number 22, Jason Williams.
Man, must have been rough for Jay Williams to win a national championship with Duke,
because
looking up at the
he wishes it was one of. I'm kidding. Hopefully Jay knows that I'm joking based on some of the stuff that I've seen lately.
So off the bench for that Arizona team was Luke Walton, future NBA coach. Off the bench because of his foot injury in that game for Duke was obviously Carlos Boozer.
Yes.
Agent 0 in that game, Gilbert Arenas, 4 of 17.
Yikes.
4 of 17.
It's like defense travels.
Duke wins that one 82-72. Dunleavy with 21 points in that game. Who's Your Daddy? Battier played all 40 minutes, 18 and 11 with 6 assists. Written in the stars.
Hey, big shouts to Roosters, and big shouts to all y'all who have been voting through their Flavor Madness. I'm actually trying to find, let me see if I can find 2 Roosters here on my socials real quick. Let's see, 2 Roosters. Here we go. Are we back on the Flavor? Are we back on this? Where are we at here? That was 6 days ago. They have not updated the bracket. I'm hoping to get an updated bracket from 2 Roosters. Hopefully we've advanced far enough now in this Flavor Madness, our salted peanut butter fudge.
I don't see how we couldn't, but
I know. Look, it is a fantastic time to go. Again, once we get through this weather stuff, I know it's going to get cold this week, but like I know this past weekend, it was nice and warm, perfect spring. We were at Longleaf for lunch yesterday, and it was packed at Longleaf because, hey man, it's like the weather's nice. Everybody's coming out of the woodwork, right? So same thing at 2 Roosters. Go check out their locations. 2roosters.com is their website. You can find the full slate of flavors, but keep voting for us in the Flavor Madness. I got to go double check this is still going on because last time I checked, like Jared was tagging us and we were winning. So I kept putting it out there.
Let's go.
So let's make this thing happen because I want to bring that flavor back this summer.
I want to hang a banner.
Or do we want to change the flavor this summer? Just something to think about. Or just play the hits.
I feel like you want a peanut butter ripple.
Yeah.
Instead of the chocolate ripple.
So Go to tworoosters.com. Find out more. Check out their locations. Big thanks to Chris Brassfield. We're talking about the Canes in crunch time. It is tax crunch time right now. You are running out of clock. So hit up our guy, brassfieldaccounting.com, and make sure you take care of this now. brassfieldaccounting.com. OG listeners, you get your personal taxes done through us thanks to Brassfield Accounting. You got to tell him you listen to us. That's how he does the personal taxes, because year-round, what he is a fractional CFO. So he's making sure the paperwork's right. He's taking that off your plate so you can focus on what you do best, which is not CFO. That's what Chris does best, especially if you're dealing with government grants. So just start the conversation right now if you're a small business owner. BrassfieldAccounting.com. And of course, our friends at Mosquito Authority and Pest Authority, check them out online at bugsbite.com. Mosquito Authority and Pest Authority, it's all about bundling and saving, and also keeping in mind they don't do contracts. You can pay as you go. So if you're just looking for something as simple as mosquito treatments, hit them up, bugsbite.com. Again, that's bugsbite.com. All right, let's go back to the OG Sports Phone.
919-444-2211. Call the OG Sports Phone and curse or don't.
All right, let's go to Nate 28.
Gentlemen, hate that I'm giving kudos to y'all, as I just saw that NC State is heading to Dayton for their first game for calling however many months ago. But this fucking team is just last year's UNC team. To the T. You got it right. Good job.
They really did have Carolina season, didn't they? But whereas
now Carolina won their game.
They did, and they smoked them. There was one nuance, though. Last year, Carolina got in, and it was like the talking point of post-selection Sunday. And as we talked about with Patrick, that should have been the point at which you should start paying attention to wins above the bubble more than anything else. This year was more along the lines of like, yeah, State's in, but man, how'd you end up there? Again, wins above the bubble explains a lot. Let's go to 1919.
What a kick in the nuts. All this planning I did not take into account the possibility of going to Dayton and going to Portland. So I get to, for work, wake up on a Monday morning, drive to Myrtle Beach, drive back from Myrtle Beach, then drive to Dayton, then watch us play in Dayton, then drive 8 hours back from Dayton, then get on a plane on Wednesday and fly to Denver to spend the night in Denver, to then fly to Portland to watch us play that game. What kind of bullshit is that? I mean, damn. Don't shit the bed against Miami late. Don't shit the bed against Georgia Tech. Don't shit the bed against Stanford.
I mean,
Steve,
that's a choice.
Yeah.
That's a choice.
There's nothing wrong with just going to Dayton.
Yeah.
Like,
is he really going to go to Portland if they win?
Why would you doubt him?
You know what? I apologize. Let's go to an 832.
Hey guys, Jack from Raleigh. All I'm going to say is my team didn't go winless in the ACC tournament. I feel a hell of a lot better about the Pack than I do about Carolina going into the tournament if I was a UNC fan. Don't know what that no-show was against Clemson. Go with that.
Oh, I love the rivalry. Use the other's pain to give yourself some optimism going into the NCAA tournament. Let's go to 1910.
What's up, Joe and Joe? Hope you guys are recovering from the week at the ACC tournament well. Really enjoyed the series of podcasts this week, but there were a couple things on the most recent podcast that I was said and just have to address. One by a caller and one by Giglio. To address the caller first, I think there was a comment made about Shire not being a coach mastermind. I think time will tell with that. He's 4 years in. But I think one thing that elite coaches have that puts them above the rest of coaches, they get the best out of their roster with what they have. you're missing Dongba, you're missing Foster, and you win the ACC championship over a decorated this year team in Virginia. He got the most out of them, and he made the moves in the roster what he had to win that game and win the championship and keep them focused despite the opposition. So I think that's one trait that he has that puts him above the rest of the coaches in the ACC specifically. I think second thing, Giglio said that Cameron Boozer played dogged in the second half, and it is a testament to Shire, but I think it's more so he has it in him. He has the genetics, and his dad played several years of NBA ball and knows what it means to do that. I think that's just a testament to his upbringing, and it's just a special player, and it helps when you have an NBA player, really good player as your father. So just wanted to address those things, and I think Shire is Coach of the Year for this reason.
Yeah, I mean, y'all know where I've stood on John Shire this year in particular and why he should have been the ACC Coach of the Year, and you got it right. I was wrong in my prediction that it would go to Ryan Odom because of how we typically do these things with voting, but the argument was there for John Shire to win it, and I thought they ultimately got it right by having him be named the Coach of the Year. Time will tell. I mean, again, like the caller said, it's only year 4, but John Shire has achieved some things out of the gate that are really freaking impressive, even more so when you add the layer of who he's replacing, because we've seen this happen so many places where it's not easy to replace the guy. Let's go to a 910.
Fellas, I was watching the bracket reveal last night. Carolina fan, obvious Duke hater. I think I realized what a fake I am when I was watching it, because I'm not going to lie, I've been box score watching all year and kind of getting some kicks out of, the grass isn't always greener, is it, Mr. Jackson? But telling you, St. John's popped up on that 5 line, and I was like, let's go Johnnies! Let's go Johnnies! I'm big time Big East truther all of a sudden. Been calling Peterson a bum all year. I'm now a Peterson truther. Kansas. And let me tell you, there's maybe not someone who has more animosity for Dan Hurley than me. But daggone, am I just not the biggest Husky fan there is now. Truth be told, I'm a little bit concerned because the selection committee kind of wiped out my usual old reliable of, Duke got a cakewalk the Final Four. I don't know that I'm going to be able to break that one out this year like usual. So hopefully one of these people that I've hated on all year will come out and save me. And that's the magic of college sports, I think. I'm really proud of them. I'm really proud of them for unifying us. Need more of that these days. Okay, thanks. Good luck at your little brackets and thing tonight. Wish I could be there.
Bye. It is funny what the bracket does to you once you see the team you don't like show up. All right, we got time for 2 more. Let's go to 252.
Hey, guys. On my way home after watching the Selection Sunday show, wanted to say that for Carolina this year, had the ups and downs, had Caleb Wilson. Think that our best case scenario is just letting us kind of run our course in the tournament. And then, Hubert's work is going to show at the end of the day. I don't think we make it out of the first weekend. Been an avid watcher of the Tar Heels, and I just don't think we make it out of the weekend. And hopefully that shows Bubba and the new guy that Hubert's just not really worth it anymore. Loving what the ACC is doing this year, boosting our game. And then Duke's just on a rampage. Credit to John Shire being a first-year head coach, and not first-year head coach, being a newer head coach, and he's just doing his thing, as shitty as that sounds. But love the show, guys. Thank you.
Thoughts?
Lock, stock, and barrel. I do have Virginia getting out of the first weekend. I think they may have converted me.
Yeah, you did fall hard for Ryan Odom this week.
I think they might have converted me. Tennessee's got some injury stuff. We'll see. That'll be remember Rick Barnes.
I know.
Beat John in year one. That could be a testy one.
That was a different Duke team with Kyle Filipowski. Different kind of team. Also a different kind of Tennessee team.
I don't think Tennessee's DNA changes that much in terms of
Probably
I
not.
think that's how they'll attack Tennessee as well. I mean Virginia as well.
All right, let's go 336.
This is a listener from Charlotte, North Carolina. Been listening to the show for quite the number of years, and I just wanted to give some encouragement, some feedback, some constructive criticism, and also kind of give you the brevity of everything that is Carolina basketball. Politics aside, I think Giglio does a great job internalizing constructive criticism. It's been many a times that I've noticed him on the show coming out and publicly just saying, I messed up, I made a mistake, and I'll do better. And as a listener, someone who likes honesty and truth-telling, but also entertainment and opinions when it comes to athletics and sports in general, especially when it comes to triangle athletics, as a Carolina grad, I deeply respect that. Mr. Ovies, on the other hand, I don't know if it's more of an emotional connection to the triangle, emotional connection to being a Wolfpack grad, or what it is, but ultimately speaking, I feel like there might be a little bit more of an emotional attachment to some of the things that come out of your opinions. And I hopefully respect that. But at the same time, I think there's things that are missed. And I'll take this moment to basically go and be very quick to explain the Carolina situation.
Hold up. Am I being accused of being emotionally attached to NC State?
I believe that's what he said.
Am I also the one who the husband of Duke's AD thought went to Carolina?
Also you.
Huh. Interesting. I just wanted to present those two extreme cases. Let's continue.
It's not that Hubert Davis has let everyone down, and you guys talked about it in the last show. The expectations being the expectations as a blue blood, and preceding all the coaches that came before him. Well, it's a neglect of running the same style that is Carolina, notably just won successful championships year in and year out, and over several decades, is playing with several big men and playing through your big man and beating the crap out of people on the offensive boards, and a failure to do that. It's not that Hubert Davis has created an identity. There's a lack of identity. And emotions aside, you see people like Cadeau, Jalen Washington, Tyler Nickel, and these other players leaving the program and killing it is another example of why Hubert Davis eventually will be let go as a head coach in North Carolina. I wish him the best. Love the show. I wish you guys would be able to see and smell the flowers. Thank you.
Couple things about that. First and foremost, when the caller said number of years, I mean, what do you mean number of years? And then I realized, oh shit, we're coming up on 3 years of doing this. And my mindset usually is we just started doing this.
Right.
Even though we're coming up on 3 years. So that's a little, it's a little sobering, if you will. Number two, I wasn't quite clear where you were going on the setup of my supposed emotional attachment to NC State, which is amusing given my history of what I get usually criticized for, and what that has to do with discussing Hubert Davis. I think you and I have done a pretty good job of, and it's funny how roles get reversed sometimes. Last year, you were apoplectic about discussions around Hubert Davis, and I kept trying to describe to you, well, right, but there's a different attitude that Carolina fans have.
Yeah, it's a different standard.
It's a different standard. Yeah. And you yourself have said, yeah, man, it's taken me a little bit of time to get to that point. And I have been banging that table that I understand Carolina fans have a different standard. This is not the equivalent of NC State winning an ACC tournament for the first time since 1987. And then therefore you're like, we're good here. Yeah. It don't work that way. And I said to that, you could back me up on this. When we walked out of Charlotte, out of the Coliseum, and John Shires won 3 of the last 4 ACC tournaments, you can put whatever level of importance you want on the ACC tournament, but the tournament itself shows what I've been talking about and what's driving people nuts in Chapel Hill. This is the consistency we're looking for. Winning the league, finishing atop the league, winning the ACC championship, being a number 1
Sweet
seed.
16s.
All those things.
Yeah.
The consistency of Roy
that's
Williams.
The floor.
Yeah, the consistency of Roy Williams. So I've been the one saying that. I have been the one trying to explain or be very upfront about, I understand why people feel a certain way about Hubert Davis. Don't confuse that part with what I might have said over the weekend in relation to where the university is right now in terms of management. I say management in the context of who the chancellor is, the change in the athletic director, and more importantly, something that if you weren't paying attention at the ACC tournament should be abundantly clear after this ACC tournament, where North Carolina is on a program in terms of the evolution of where college basketball is and where Duke is. And some of those other schools that you described as well, like Michigan. Again, this is not me arguing, well, you got to keep Hubert Davis. It's not what I'm saying. I fully understand the issues that people have with Hubert Davis. I am simply pointing out, and what we spent some good time talking about, I think it was on Friday night, if I remember correctly, there are other issues at the university right now that I said, in my opinion, reflect some larger problems that go beyond just simply changing the coach. All right. As I said, y'all can't even decide where you want to play basketball. And you've seen the push and pull of basketball, the basketball family versus who's currently in charge right now. And those opinions of who I would like to be the next coach or the direction we want to go in terms of basketball to modernize sometimes are at odds with what the family wants. I see it. I think you should see it too if you're a Carolina person who truly lives, breathes, eats UNC hoops. You got to see this playing out, right? So it's not that I'm anti, you got to keep Hubert. It's more like, hey, man, if you're going to move on, you got to make sure that everything else is buttoned up right now in terms of where everybody is on the same page, which I don't think is the case right now at UNC between the family and the administration.
And maybe it gets cleaner once Steve Newmark is.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe that's the case. And of course, to your point, there's some things going on with Belichick that also kind of seep into how we talk about these things. And the last point I'll make about the emotional things, and again, I appreciate the call. Why do we do this? Sports makes us feel things. And I don't know about you, but I would like it if the people that I consume actually sound like these are the types of things that get them going. These are the types of things that matter. These are the types of things that, as I like to say, make you feel some type of way. That's sports. That's what fascinates me about sports. I've said this before. Sports has a funny way of making otherwise successful, rich people act out, man. Act out. It's interesting to me. And we like to tap into that. That's why we get guys like Zach calling and saying, oh, shit, I'm a big Johnny's guy right now. Oh, man.
Yeah,
I've had some shit to say about Hurley, but hey, buddy.
Affiliations could change pretty quickly.
Hey, buddy. Anyway, that's going to wrap it up. Thanks, everybody, for calling on the OG Sports phone. Thanks for the 5 stars only, positive vibes only. Oh, by the way, real quick note on that. If you got like a legitimate issue with the show, email us. Like a legitimate issue with the show. Just go ahead and email us. theoggoesdigital@gmail.com instead of just giving us a 1-star review for no reason. Just give us a review.
Did I curse again too much?
I don't know. I don't know if it's that. Like there's one guy, Oak City native, who I'm pretty sure has been listening to the podcast for 3 years, will occasionally like take a review off and then 1-star it again with a complaint. Dude, just email us, bro. And we can hash it out from there. That's all. So give us 5 stars, 5 stars only, positive vibes only. We will see y'all. Wait, well, no. Yeah, we'll see. You'll see y'all. I'm like confused. That's right. We got the Longleaf thing tonight. And then we'll do an after dark after the NC State Texas game. We'll see you then.